guys, welcome back. If it's your first time here, then welcome. I usually forget to do this, so I'm gonna do it now. Go ahead and subscribe, please. I'm really trying to get to like this red letter number, and I'm just a lot outside. So, you know, I need to prove to my husband that I can do this and that people want to hear me speak. Today I wanted to talk about my experience with a couple airlines. I have traveled all my life, whether it's for vacation or moving. I've moved more times than I've celebrated birthdays, which is saying something because I'm like decades old. And I mean, I have my favorites. TWA, which doesn't exist anymore, but they were awesome. And Delta Air France. Those are my absolute favorites. Expensive, but in retrospect, they're worth it. The two airlines that I have a problem with, one is American Airlines. Now, I can give you the benefit of the doubt the first time something happens. It happens. Travelers all over the world all are well aware of the fact that planes are going to be late. There's going to be that annoying child that sits like right behind you, taking the back of your seat, so on and so forth. But American Airlines, I'd had enough. Now, the first issue I had with them is when I went on my honeymoon a few years ago, and for the wedding, I got one of the suitcases that I had registered for. It was this bright purple, pearlized, huge suitcase, and I was like, oh, yes, I have an awesome suitcase, because, you know, when you're a frequent traveler, your suitcase is important. And my favorite color, purple. And this was pearlized purple, so, you know, a step above. And we took it to Florida, and when I got back, there was a hole the size of a quarter in the side. Brand new suitcase. I was not a happy camper. And I thought, well, this sucks. So, but everything else was inside, and I left it alone. I was like, okay, you know, it happens. I know that these buff guys are throwing luggage all day, and they were probably distracted by the fact that, ooh, this suitcase is so pretty, and threw it into, like, you know, the wing or something. I don't know how it gets a hole in it, because the plastic was gone. It was a hole. It's like they wanted to peep into my suitcase and see what I had in there. But I let it go. Still wasn't happy about it, but I let it go. And the next time I flew American Airlines, I had gone to Florida again. Is that a coincidence? I had a photography masterclass to attend. So I had my laptop in there, and I'm a cosplayer as well. So I had my Wonder Woman costume, complete, cape and all, in there. And I had bought a Jerry Gionis ice light, which is kind of like what a lot of us use now, the ring light, except it's like a short lightsaber. It's really cool. I'm at my son's now, or I'd show it to you. But all of that was inside my luggage when I went to go home. And I made it back safe. I was sitting at the carousel for quite a while. Everybody else got their luggage. Mine was missing. So I go over to Miss Smiles in the lost luggage department. You know, they love to work in that department. And she was like, well, she says, let me take some information down. So she took my name and my address and where I was coming from and where I was going, blah, 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 blah. And she said, what is distinctive about your luggage? And I said, well, it's a large piece. It's a purple pearl color. So it's kind of hard to miss. Kind of sticks out. It has a Wonder Woman tag. It looks like a Funko Pop, but it's flatter. Tag on it. Again, hard to miss. And I mean, you know, it's labeled, so it should have arrived with me because I thought we were on the same flight. And she was like, well, she says, give it a while, and we have your contact information. Is there anything distinctive in the suitcase? And I was like, well, yeah. A Wonder Woman costume, which I would assume would stand out if opened. I says, cape and all, Linda Carter style Wonder Woman suit, and my laptop and an ice light. And she's like, what? It's not an ice light, it's like a lightsaber, except it's for photographers lighting. She's like, okay. So she wrote all this down. So I met my husband in the pickup area, and he's like, where's your luggage? I says, probably Milwaukee. Don't know. It didn't get the message when we changed planes, so, you know, I don't know. So I filled out all the information. She told me to wait. Okay. A couple days later, I get my luggage back. They call, say, hi, we found your luggage and we will bring it to you. Because I told her, I said, what? I don't live in Nashville. I live a distance away. I have to drive into Nashville. And she's like, no problem. We will have it delivered to your doorstep. Great. So my luggage showed up, and the guy was carrying it through my front yard, which, one, I can understand. You don't want to like drag it over the grass. Two, my dogs go outside in the front yard sometimes, so I didn't want crap on my luggage. And he's like, here it is. Can you sign, please? Sure. And I go to put it in the living room, and I noticed that the handle is broken. You know, like the pull-up handle? Well, originally there were two. Now there's just one. And I was like, my luggage is damaged. He's like, well, he says, I just deliver them. You'll have to contact American Airlines to get that sorted out. Okay. So I got my broken piece of luggage. Now, with a hole in it and a broken handle, it's not really usable anymore. This beautiful piece of suitcase I had for all of, at this point, maybe 3 trips, was gone. It was destroyed. My stuff was still there, which was great because my costume was specifically tailored for me, and I would have had a major issue with that. Losing my Wonder Woman costume would be way worse than losing my laptop and my newly acquired ice light. Sorry, Jerry. But the ice light would have been easier to replace. So I was not happy. Several years later, well, not several, maybe 2, I don't know. 3? I don't know. I had to fly to Las Vegas for a photography conference. And I decided, you know what? American Airlines was the cheapest option, and with every flight I've taken with them, I now understand why. But, you know, my husband's really a stickler for saving money anywhere we can. And said, well, you know, you can fly American. I was like, I'm not checking my luggage. I'm done. I will just have a carry-on sized, and I'll only be there for 3 days. I will be fine. So between my carry-on and my purse, which I would take an oversized purse to compensate for what I would normally put in my luggage, that'll be fine. And so I thought, okay, you know, American, usually on time, not a problem. They just have a problem with my luggage. So I won't take any luggage. I will take it on my person with me, so it'll be safe. It'll be fine. And I get there, not a problem. On the way back, my flight was canceled. In Denver, my connecting flight didn't connect. So I go to the ticket counter and I'm like, what's up? I don't live in Denver. I live in Tennessee. Quite a long distance to walk. What do we do? And she's like, well, she says, we can put you on the next flight. And she's like, and for your trouble, we will gladly upgrade you to first class. Awesome. I think it was business class. There's now a difference. Business class is usually better than coach because, you know, the seats are bigger. You don't feel like a sardine slapped up in between two huge pieces of flesh. And you get better snacks. So I thought, fine, okay, I can wait. So that flight left in like 2 hours or something, I don't know. Okay, not a problem, I can entertain myself. I have everything that I brought with me because God knows I wasn't gonna trust them with my luggage without my supervision. And so I hung around the airport for a while. I was getting hot, so I took off my jacket, and it was busy, so I just, you know, cop squat on the floor up against a pole or something, and I entertained myself. It was time for my flight, so I went over to the counter, and they were like, well, this one's going to be delayed for a while, but there's another plane that we can put you on gate 27 or something. If it was gate 27, I was at gate 2. And she said, and it leaves in 20 minutes. Okay, so I gather my stuff, go all the way to the other terminal, and it might as well have been in a separate terminal because you had to go down this huge hallway, down the escalator, over along, I mean, it was a trek. I should have brought a sandwich. But I finally got to the plane and they were delayed. And there were a lot, it was like at the end of the terminal, so it was like 3 or 4 flights with everybody waiting to get on the plane. So there were no seats. So again, found a spot on the floor and sat there until my flight was ready to go. Now, in the midst of all of this moving around and delays, I got on a plane that didn't have a first class or business class section. So I'm like, what the hell? I thought all this crap that they were putting me through, I would at least get a wider seat out of it. No. It was jam-packed, and there was no business class on this flight. So I packed myself in like the little dutiful sardine that I am, and I finally got home. Now, I was getting cold because you step out of the airport for once, and WPPI is in February. So it's kind of nippy in Nashville at that time. I went to put in my jacket, which I no longer had with me. Now, it was my business jacket, so it had my name on it and my business and what I was, lead photographer, owner, you know. Originally, I had tied it around my waist, and one of the times where I was sitting on the floor in one of the terminals waiting for one of my flights, it had loosened enough that when I stood up, I grabbed my bag and my purse and walked away from my jacket. Now, when I think back, there was a slight alarm going off while I was waiting for my last flight. And, it was really loud. It was really unusual because I had never heard an alarm. I was like freaking out. Is there a fire or something? And somebody told me, I was like, well, they found something. Oh, good. Okay. Come to find out, later, when I was getting a phone call at home from Denver, it was my jacket. See, I take medication, one of which was, I don't take it anymore because, it doesn't do anything for me, hydrocodone, because I've got a lot of physical body pain that you can't really fix. That was in my pocket of my jacket because the pocket zips up, and I'm not going to stick it in my luggage because American Airlines can't hold on to it, and it's just on my person because I rarely take my jacket off. But they didn't know what it was, and therefore the alarm was sounded because there was this mysterious black jacket. Now, personally, if I was trying to leave anything in the airport, I wouldn't have put it in a jacket with my name and business on the front. I mean, I had business cards in one pocket and probably like some gum or a pencil or something in the other pocket. I mean, it was a mess. But I finally got my jacket back. They sent it back to me. And I thought, you know what? Done with American Airlines. Done. That's it. Done. We'll never fly with them again. The second airline I would never fly again is Air Canada. And I say this with sadness because I have always been all for Canada. I love Canada. Beautiful country, nice people. It's a little cheaper, or at least it was. I don't know what's happening now. But I had been to Toronto several times. Absolutely love Toronto. Been to Niagara Falls, beautiful. A little touristy, but beautiful. And I was excited because I had never flown Air Canada before. So I thought, okay, great, and this was our big anniversary trip. We went to Europe, and the best price we could find on flights, notice I didn't say cheapest, best, was leaving out of Toronto and flying to Venice. So So I was like, okay, awesome. I can do that. I can fly to Venice. We went to Venice and Rome, and then Santorini and Athens in Greece. So this was our big 10th anniversary vacation. We were gone for probably almost 3 weeks and going to the various countries and everything. It was wonderful, except for the flight. Toronto, now this was a year ago, so it was kind of like, it was the end of the virus scare and everything, but there were still places being cautious. Well, Air Canada was the only airline that I knew of at the time that required face masks at all times. Like, when you got on the plane, you had to have your mask on. And it had to stay on the whole flight, except when you were eating, because, you know. So this was irritating to me. I have a problem with breathing. I mean, I don't like the feel of being suffocated. So, I mean, you know, and I have nothing against regulations and whether you're a vaxxer or anti-vaxxer, I don't care. I don't like feeling like I'm suffocated. And in my older age, I am not the most physically fit I've ever been. So walking a very long distance with carry-ons in tow and everything, it's exhausting. And it's hard for me to breathe because I have to wear this mask. Now, when you're in the Canada airport, you have to have your mask on. And it's just a pain in the butt. I mean, come on. I've had all of the vaccinations because my husband is, without getting political, very for vaccinations. Personally, I don't care. I never got the flu shot before I got married to him, and he made me get it. I think I would rather get the flu and have my body fight it off, so it knows what's coming next time around. But that's another story entirely. So we get to the station to get on the plane, and they make this announcement: you have to wear your mask, blah, 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 blah. And so I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun. Long flight. So we fly from Nashville to Toronto and then get off into Toronto to change planes. The way the Toronto airport is set up is like, there's 2 floors, and I don't remember it being like this the last time I was in Toronto, but that was like 15 years ago or something. So maybe this is something that they've either improved upon or now do because of restrictions. But you get off on this part, and you have to go through it. It really feels like you are the only airport or airplane in the airport, because there is nobody around. You're just in this glass hamster cage type thing to get you to the open area where you go down to get to your gate. And I'm not really sure how they do that, because you get off on the 2nd floor, and then basically you have to go all the way down to the other end of the airport to catch the escalator. Apparently they don't have a lot of them. Down, and then go all the way back up to the airport to get like the next gate over. It still blows my mind. But everybody is down there. Everybody's got their mask on, and but we get off the plane, and the glass doors to get to the main open part of the airport are locked. And so, you know, it's like piling up with people. And I was like, why did they not know we were coming? Because there's no desk with a stewardess when you get off the plane. They're all, you know, on the first floor. And this, there was no place to go. All the doors were locked. And this lady finally came up on the other side. She finally came up, and luckily somebody who was on our flight was a stewardess. I don't know if she was an off-duty stewardess from that flight in particular or just in general. But she was saying, the door is still locked. We need to go and get to our next planes. And she's like, I don't have the keys. And I'm like, why are you up here? If you don't have the keys and you know there's like a whole bunch of people coming down this lane and they have to get to other places in the airport. So like 10, 15 minutes later, somebody finally gets word that, hey, you know what? There's an airplane that's deplaned and the people are stuck in the tube. So they finally get somebody up here to unlock the door and we all disperse. Well, on our trek down to what would equivalent like 25 feet, but you know, you have to go all the way down and, you know, around. They are pooling random people to check for the virus and to check your vaccination card and everything. Lucky me, I get pulled. So on our way to the plane, we have to stop by this little setup. Kind of reminds me of like the Bloodmobile when it comes to town. All these fake walls and people in yellow disposable smocks and all this stuff. You look like you're being headed into surgery. And they ask you a whole bunch of questions and they put it on the computer. And then they, you know, swab your brain with that cotton tip thing. And then they let you go. And I'm thinking, if they pull you aside to do a random test to see if you have this virus, then wouldn't they make you wait for the results? But instead, they just send you on your way and tell you, well, you can call this number or check this website and see what the test results were. I'm like, that was the hugest waste of 25 minutes that I have ever had in my life. So we finally get to our gate, which now we've probably walked 2 miles to get to. There is no seating. Everybody is seated. It's a very popular airport in that area, I guess. But it was packed, and we finally got on our plane and we left for Europe. So on the way there, now my husband is not like my 600-pound wife, but he's a big guy. He always needs a seatbelt extender. And so the seats are going to be a little snug. And we purposely got business class because you get like better meals and wider seats and that kind of thing. And so during dinner, when you are allowed to take your mask off to eat, he dropped his fork, and the steward came by and he was asking for something, and my husband dropped his fork. He's like, and you dropped your fork. Just like that. I was like, kind of rude. And he didn't even pick it up. He just like went on his way. And it was impossible to get anybody's attention. I mean, it's not like we were like way in the back or, you know, in the middle section, in the middle of the plane. We were like the very first row. in the business class section because you get a little bit more extra leg room, which is awesome because we're both tall. But he drops his fork, and because you're belted in, you can't take it off or blah, blah, blah. And it was like, you know, almost under his seat. You could see it, but, you know. And the steward just like continued on. He gave him another fork, but he left the other one there. And I'm like, oh my God. So when we get to Venice, we get our plane, our luggage and everything. And it's another huge, long walk. I swear, I am getting, next time I go on vacation, swear to God, I am getting this suitcase, they have them online, that turns into like a, what do you call those? I can only think of trolley, but you like a skateboard, basically, that you like pedal with your feet. I'm like, whew, that's what this girl needs, because this girl and cardio no longer are friends. So I whip off my mask as soon as we get there, and I'm good to go. I'm loving it. On the way back, we get to the airport, and Air Canada has like their own terminal station area, and we both get pulled aside for random COVID tests. I'm like, dude, I already had one of these before I left Canada. Why don't you check your records? Because it's been a couple of weeks. I'm sure you have the results. So, but anyways, I got pulled again. This was when we get back, I should clarify, this is when we get back to Canada. And we decided to spend the night in Canada just to say, you know, my husband was in Toronto. I've been there before, and I saw more than just the airport and the hotel that I did this time, but we get pulled again for a random test. I'm like, fine. And because the next day we were flying out, we were leaving Canada and going back to the US, we were required to get a test done. And I was like, okay, this is 3. If I were sick, I might as well like just, you know, buy my grave and kick up my heels and just go die. I mean, I have had 3 tests within 2.5 weeks, and it's all been done by Air Canada. And they don't allow any photography or videography in the area, which I thought was kind of weird. I was like, why is it such a secret? I mean, you've got masks on, nobody can tell who you are, and yet you're sticking swabs up people's noses all day. Even though I'm fully vaccinated, I have my card to prove it, and oh, I told my husband, I was like, that's it. I'm not getting any more vaccinations, because I agreed to get the vaccinations so I wouldn't have to do all of these nose tests. And I was like, if that's what it's going to be like, no, sorry, done. I don't care. Let me get sick. Don't care. I do not like having not toothpicks. Well, that would hurt too. But swabs rammed up my nose and tickling my brain left and right, and it's such a useless test because they let you go from there straight onto the plane, and they don't know whether you have COVID or not. They have no idea. They haven't gotten the results. They won't get the results for 24 hours. But they let you go on the plane just to say, well, we tested them. But you don't know what the results are. Crazy. Oh, but that kind of, I mean, and I know that will probably loosen up if it hasn't already. But it just put a bad taste in my mouth and my brain. I will not be using Air Canada or American Airlines ever again. No, sorry, not gonna do it. So if you guys have ever had this problem with a certain airline in particular, let me know, because I do travel a lot, and I would want to know what airlines are decent and what are airlines to definitely stay away from. Me, decent, Delta, Air France. Southwest, not so decent, American Airlines and Air Canada. So, yeah, those are my two favorites and non-favorites. What do you think? Let me know. Bye.